Welcome to another episode of I'm Not Yelling, I'm Dominican podcast, hosted by Nachi and Damaris. Hey everybody, it's your girl Nachi, and I'm here with
Damaris, self-proclaimed emotional terrorist.
And today we're going to talk about creating spaces that matches your spirit. I don't know about any of you, but for me, my mood shifts when my home is clean, or I've done some spring cleaning and decluttered, or even brought something new for my home that just brought me some level of joy. And so there's like this euphoric feeling that's hard to explain, but it's all linked to having a space that speaks to your spirit. And we have the pleasure of having our special guest, Julie Jamison, interior decorator extraordinaire. She is going to chop it up with us
Hello.
about the importance of creating a space that is an extension of yourself, how it's connected to your mental health, and she's going to share some things you should start doing in your home. So we want to welcome Julie. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank you for having me.
definitely.
Absolutely.
What
So,
an intro.
Julie,
No pressure, Julie. You better be
I know,
extraordinary.
right?
she's extraordinary.
She
But I
is.
do want to share. I
Thank you.
said before that I found you through all things Ada, but when I found you several years ago, it was during a time I was going through a divorce, and I was living in an apartment, and it was a transitional home for me, right? So I put no effort into how I wanted it to be. It was just, oh, I'm not staying here for very long. And that very long really was 5 years. But I didn't put any effort to it. And so that definitely, when I think back, was reflective of how how I felt mentally and emotionally. And it wasn't until I started following you that I started shifting my perspective and how I viewed my home. And so I started doing little things to add to it, like putting up pictures, and I bought a rug and new bedding and fixing my kids' room just to make it homier. And it did shift, how I felt about my home. So I wanted you to share a little bit about yourself and what you do and what your approach is. But I definitely want to thank you and tell you how much I appreciate how much I
Oh,
appreciate what you've done and
you're
sharing your light
welcome.
with us. So I'm excited to have you here. So please tell us a little bit about yourself, and tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Damn, you gonna make me tear up. Listen, I am like so passionate about the way that I do interior decorating because it's not all the same, right? You have and to each their own, right? You have decorators out there who just put a space together, no like reasoning, no connection to the client. And for me, that's the
Hmm.
equivalent of home staging. You have decorators who decorate with that in mind of just like, I'm just going to give you a Pinterest board, you put it together and that's it. Whereas my approach is I want you to feel connected to your space. You and your space are one. Your space is an extension of you, and your space cannot bless you without you without you being in your space through the items, through the accessories, through the colors, through the textures, right? Because you and I are different.
Right.
Even you and your
Yep.
sister are different, right? You like different things, you're into
Right.
different colors, you may gravitate towards a certain mood, right? So that should always translate into your space. And a lot of times, a lot of us are feeling very disconnected to our spaces because we're not putting that extra time and effort into giving our space the nurturing that it needs. Because a lot of us
Hmm.
are not nurturing ourselves.
Yep.
And which is why I say our spaces are a connection of us. They're an extension of who we are. So I like to look at decorating as literally it's like a getting to know yourself all over again
Yeah, it is a
kind of
journey.
journey.
Yeah,
Right.
it is
Who
a
are
journey.
you, right? Like, who are you? What do you love? What do you like to do? How do you spend your time? Who do you want to allow into your space? Because for me, my space is super, like, I hold it dear to my heart. I don't just let anybody up
No,
in my
I hear you.
house.
You can't have everybody.
Right.
And I don't know if that's just the cancer in me, but I'm
No,
very,
I'm the
like,
same way.
you
You
know, My family,
Yes.
my home, not just anybody's gonna come up in here. So if you come up in here, it's
Hmm.
because I trust you, you know, and I have a connection to you. And it's a private space. You're getting to know me through my space, because if you
Right.
really know me and you walk into my space, you see it everywhere, right? And a lot of times, another thing that I tend to see is people like to decorate to please other people. And it's like, but you
Or
don't
to
even like
match
that.
a certain aesthetic that they saw on, like you said, Pinterest or something else. Yeah.
Yeah, like a trend or a design style that's popular out there, but you don't like, you haven't even sat with yourself to see, like, do I really like black? Do I really like pink? What are my thoughts of farmhouse? What are my thoughts on moody spaces? Like, am I just jumping on a trend, or is this who I really am at
Hmm.
the core?
Right.
Right? Because yeah,
No, that's interesting that you say that because I engaged an interior designer probably like 10 years ago. And it was the first time I ever did anything like that. And I did it because my sister and I actually moved into the home that I live in now. We moved into this space together. And then she left. We lived together for a few years. Then she abandoned
I did
me,
not
went to
abandon
Virginia.
you. I got married.
Okay. Tomato, tomato.
I was
We'll agree
starting
to
a new
disagree.
life.
We could have stayed in New York. But anyway, back to the story. So she and I decorated the space together. And it was fun, it was like, oh, we did color wash, we painted the walls, we whatever, we bought the furniture together. But then after she left, I had it for a few more years. And I was just at the point I was like, oh, like it's time to do something because I just didn't feel connected any longer to the space and I wanted to do more with it. I wanted to have it reflect more of me. And I kind of was I'm great at styling clothes for myself. I'm not great at like the idea of, styling a whole room or an apartment was just overwhelming to me because I realized, unlike clothes, I have to be okay with this for the next 5 years minimum. And if I'm not,
Commitment.
yeah, I was like, I don't know about all this. So I was like, let me engage an
Especially when you're
interior
doing an
designer.
overhaul makeover.
Yeah,
It's not like
yeah,
one little thing, like, oh, I'm just going to buy a
right,
sofa. I'm making this whole entire apartment
right.
over.
Yeah. So it's funny. I interviewed like three designers and I didn't say, oh, I want this from what I saw. I was just like, I was clear about how I wanted to feel. And that's how I expressed my objective with them. I said, I want to come home to my queendom and I needed to reflect my inner rock star.
Mm.
I said, these are the things that I like. This is what I don't like. I said, I'm very decisive. I said, you just need to show me these things and I'll tell you yes or no. I was like, I needed to be eclectic. I don't want it to look like one type of style
Hmm.
because that's not me.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I loved it. It was a fun experience. It probably wasn't as spiritually connected as kind of the approach you take, which I think probably now I would be more ready for than I was back then. But even then, intuitively, I already knew. I said I want to feel a certain way when I come into my home, and
Yeah.
that was I wanted to be my queendom. I wanted to reflect my inner rock star because that's how I feel inside. And so that was an interesting experience because they were also surprised with me. They were like, "Oh, okay, this is what you." I'm like, "Who do you deal with that they don't know what they want?" Right? But
You'd be surprised.
apparently that's the
You'd be
thing.
surprised that, yeah, you'd be surprised that there's people who are it's kind of like, when you like want this big wedding and you're more in love
Yeah,
with
yeah.
the wedding than you're with the marriage. It's kind of like that, like you're more in love with the design aspect because you watch all these shows,
Mm,
maybe you're on YouTube or whatever, but the process of going from like before and after, it's not it's not an easy one, because sometimes people are not as forthcoming. Like, they tell you they want to feel
right,
a certain way, but they don't really want to feel that way, or they don't even know how the hell they want to feel. They don't even know who the
Yeah.
hell they are.
right.
Because another aspect that I bring into the way that I do my decorating is, I already told you I'm an astrology
So are
nerd,
we.
and I love the chakras and all of that. So
What's your top three? You said Cancer
so I'm
already.
a Cancer sun, Leo moon, and a Scorpio
Okay.
rising.
Ooh, Leo.
Leo
I'm a Leo
rising.
sun, and she's a Leo rising. Okay,
Oh, you
okay,
see?
okay.
So, And then there's so many other aspects of your chart that go into who
It
you
does.
are, right? And a lot of people haven't discovered those areas of themselves yet. But you can get to know a person a lot by the questions you ask them. So sometimes it's about giving them the space that they need, not the space that they
Mm-hmm.
want. So it's like you're flustered, you're all over the place. You need a lot of grounding. Like
How do you do that with your clients or prospective clients? Like your approach is you're already describing how your approach is different from the typical interior designer or decorator. How do you kind of get to that with your prospective clients?
it's all through the questions that I ask them. And it's not just the decorating related questions. It's like, okay, where are you in your life right now? Why is it why now? Why now do you want to start on this decorating journey? How do you feel now in your space and how do you want to feel moving forward? Or what is
Mm-hmm.
not working? Because a lot of times people try this on their own and they see just how hard it is. It's not easy.
Hmm.
And then you kind of get to know the person by just their mannerisms. They start, at least for me, people tend to open up to me very
Mm-hmm.
easily. Just start talking to me. So I'm just listening and I'm taking notes and I'm just like, this person seems like this person seems, and then I'll run through the summary with them. I'm like, this is what the vibe I'm getting from you. And a lot of the times it's correct. And it's like, this is how we can balance you out. This is how we can move more towards your north node in your chart. These are the different ways, and also being open to it, because sometimes people say they want to change
Yeah,
and
they
they
get
don't want to
scared.
change. Those are those clients where it's like,
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, I don't know about that. And I'm like, you got
Yeah,
to
they have to
trust
be
me.
open. Yeah.
right.
You got
Mm-hmm.
to trust me. You got to be open. You have to be trusting, because we know what we're talking about. We know what we're doing. We're the experts. So, we understand color, we understand patterns, we understand textures and how everything works together. It's not just one standalone piece. It's how does it work with everything else in the space, and how does it then meet that end goal that you're looking for, right? Of how you want to feel and what you want to see in your space, the
Mm-hmm.
vision you have for your space. So there's just so many factors
And
Yeah.
that
do
go
you think like
into
some
it.
of that fear
No,
comes
no.
from the fact that they may not own the home, or because I feel like people who live in a rental are less likely to do different things to their home or spend a whole lot of money in decorating that particular home because they see it as, well, I'm just renting it, so I'm not going to do much with it. Whereas someone who owns their home, there might be a little bit more flexible. Do you see that difference, or they're pretty much the same?
No,
Mm-hmm.
they're pretty much the same. But then I always tell people, like, even if you're renting, most people rent what,
Mm-hmm.
5, 4 years? That's a long time to be in a
It's
space
true.
where you don't feel good. Think about it. Like, a lot of us say, I remember my first apartment, oh, I'm only going
Mm-hmm.
to be here for a
Well,
year.
yeah. Well, that's how
There
it
for like
was
four
in my
years.
transitional home. That it was, like I said, I was going through a divorce, and I said, okay, this is just temporary. We're going to find a place and another home. But that's where we set up shop for a good 5 years. We were in that apartment. Yeah, it
I
was
can't even
that
believe
long.
it was that long. My
And it
goodness.
makes sense because you just went
Mm-hmm.
through this whole shift. You don't
Yes,
want to shift
that's
again right
exactly what
away.
it, yeah.
You don't want to start over right again. You went from this
Mm-hmm.
huge transition, right? This new chapter that you're in. You're gonna want to settle and set some sort of
Yep.
roots before you move forward.
Hmm.
I mean, that would be the ideal thing to do, unless it wouldn't be good to just rush and move on to the
Mm-hmm.
next, especially
Mm-hmm.
when you have kids. So it makes sense that you're gonna stay there for a few
Yeah, but I
years
was
and
I
then
was
move
so
on.
hesitant and trying to make it. I'm not buying any extra stuff. This is good for now. This is good for now. But like I said, I felt that shift when I started adding those little elements that I didn't think was a big deal, but it really was. It was more inviting to me. It was warmer. It was
Girl,
like, oh, okay, let me get to bed.
I just changed my curtains today and I wanted to throw a party. I changed them today and I was like, oh my God, this feels so good. The kids are looking at me like, you are crazy. I'm like, look, It's a feeling. It's a whole vibe right now.
It's not that deep, Mom, but it
They're
is
like, it's just current. And the big one came down the stairs after, and I was like, do you not notice anything? And he's like, what? And I'm like,
disrespectful.
and he's like,
Oh,
oh,
that's all you gotta say.
it's nice.
Ooh,
I'm like,
ooh,
but
okay.
it instantly shifted
Mm-hmm.
the mood in the
Mm-hmm.
space. I felt better. And it was just like a lot of people don't realize like the shift that your mental takes when you switch your environment, when you make it into something that you actually want to spend time in, that you want to spend time in, that looks beautiful to you, that reflects you to the T,
And not everything is the same. Yeah.
that not everything is the same, that has everything that you need in order for you to move freely through your space, for you to actually spend time in your space and not be like, damn, I don't got no place to put my damn cup because I don't have a side table, or I don't think I need a coffee table because why? But it's like, I want to read a
Right.
book,
Yeah.
but I don't have a lamp. I don't have lighting. I just have the one in the middle of the ceiling. And it's like, no, like we really have to. One of my favorite designers described interior design this way, and I love the way he said it. Alvin, I forgot his last name. He says that your space should be a love letter to yourself.
Yes.
Oh, wow, I love that.
And when he said that, I was like, yes,
You
that's
felt that.
exactly it. Like, how much are you loving on yourself? And I could tell by your space.
Yeah.
I could truly tell by your space because our home is a gift to ourselves. We're not just living anywhere, right? You're not gonna like live in a messed up neighborhood with your kids. You were specific about where you wanted to live, right? You were specific about the amount of bedrooms, of the layout, of how you wanted it to look, of your tenants, of all of that. So then why are you
Yeah.
not taking care of the inside? Like we spend a lot of time at home, and it should be something that we should be wanting to invest in. We should be wanting to make it a priority to make it beautiful. Not just we want to look nice outside with our clothes, right?
You want to come into my nice home?
You want to look
Yeah.
presentable and do your hair and do all of that,
No,
you know.
all the things. Julie, it's interesting. How did you get to this point though, where you just knew that approaching this like you have such a unique perspective and way that you approach this work, and again, like I said, when you talk to other interior designers, it is not like this. How did you come to this? To approach it this way. How did you come to this?
It was through my own healing journey. It was through really figuring out the things that made me happy. That I'm gonna cry. The things that really lit me up, and like I've had to do a lot of
Mm.
self love work because again I'm a Cancer, so I give, 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 give. I'm like a big on family and like making sure everybody's okay, and to my detriment because I'm always the last one.
Boundaries, right?
Yes, boundaries. I'm the last one. Like
You
I'm
have to keep
tired, but
going.
I
Yep.
just gotta keep going. I cross off one more thing. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. And it got to the point that I'm like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not
Mm-hmm.
happy here. I'm not taking care of myself. I'm not taking care of my home. I'm not taking care of like all the things that I love to do. It's just not happening because I'm over here busy taking care of everybody else. And for years, my home didn't look the way that I wanted to. And because of my husband, Robert, who would always fuck up the house
Doing
trying
his
to
own
decorate.
his
And
own thing.
I'm like, dude, his own shit. And
He said, I have some ideas.
I'm like, keep your fucking ideas to yourself. Ain't nobody ask you
Oh
shit.
my
Like, come on. I didn't ask you to
And
share.
you're
This is
like, now
not
I gotta
share
fix
time.
this
Like,
mess you made.
yes. And I'm like, I gotta fix all this bullshit that you think is cute. Like,
Look,
how
I need you
dare
to tell us what was the
I'm
worst
like,
thing he's done.
no.
Look,
Ooh. Wait, wait.
it
Her
looks
face
like
You're
is
gonna make me
pained.
there's
twitch.
more than one.
Her face is
It is so many that I created a
Oh
fucking
my
highlight on
goodness.
my IG because I'm like, and that didn't even capture all of the shit he's done. Like we call him the
Oh
decor
my
wrecker, the
goodness.
decor wrecker. We
That is
call
so
him the
funny.
decor wrecker. Okay, the first one that comes to mind is he cut my fucking curtains.
Wait.
he cut my curtains because he said the curtains in the kitchen should not touch the floor. So I come home one Sunday morning to make my cafe, and
Something looks different.
I'm like, what
Oh,
the
that,
fuck?
yeah, no.
When I tell you, remember the cartoons when you
Yeah.
saw the steam coming out of people's ears? That was me. I was like, Robert. He comes down the stairs. I said, what the fuck? Like, the neighbors
Oh
everybody
my
must have heard it was
goodness.
like vibrating, just like, what did you do? And he's like, what? And I'm like, what the hell did you do to the curtains? And he's like, well, they were too long. Long curtains don't belong in the kitchen. And I was like, who told you that?
He's like, that makes sense. That's common sense.
No, and no.
And you still
The
see
little
like
frails at the bottom.
of course it wasn't cut. Yeah, the frills, and it's not cut evenly.
Oh my
You know, it's
god.
one thing like if he cut it and then he's like, oh, and I hemmed it up too. He's just like, I'm just gonna cut
I'm just
and
gonna
Chop it
cut
off.
it.
this is how
Chop
we
it off.
do. What?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I took everything and every god in the sky to not put my hands on him because I
Right.
literally wanted to choke him. That was the first one. Another time, I painted the hallways, the doors black. This dude thought it was a good idea to paint the back of the door black. That's in the
Oh my
bathroom.
gosh.
Okay.
There's nothing black in the bathroom.
He's like, I want to see this
Nothing.
black hole.
Besides the vanity, but still, there's nothing black. So now when I'm in the bathroom, I feel like I'm in Beetlejuice.
Right.
And then on top of that, there's a vent in the ceiling, on the ceiling, that he decided that should be black too. And you should coordinate. The ceilings are not black.
Ooh-wee.
Also, you just had this one black vent
Just
metal thing.
one. Yup.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So, and then on top of that, he didn't have enough paint for the back of the door, so you see the streaks.
All right now.
So I said to him, so you said you were working from home. Clearly, you didn't have enough work to do because you over here painting doors that nobody asked you to paint. And second of all, you're banned from painting because you don't know how to paint. You cannot paint within the lines. We've agreed on this, and you still keep trying to paint.
So do you just like give him projects that's well outside of your home just to do stuff so he could destroy on his own and just not bring it home? Like, how do you?
Julie's like,
we had to have a serious conversation about it because I said to him, I said, Robert, in the beginning it was cute, it was funny. It's not funny no more.
She said, "No more
it's
ha
not
ha he
cute
he."
anymore.
It's not. No, I'm not laughing. It's not cute. And I had to like really sit him down and be like, do you know how it makes me feel that I do this for a living? And you just go ahead.
No, it's true.
Just go take it upon yourself to make these decorating decisions when you have a decorator in the house and your decisions are not good at all. That's like me going to open the boiler room and just be like, what
Right,
can
let
I
me fix
damage
this boiler.
today?
I know nothing about this.
That Robert could just fix on his free time. Like, what can I do in here that'll give him work to do?
That's what he does.
Yeah.
I was like, do you know how that makes me feel? It doesn't feel good.
Right.
And if I feel like shit and I feel disrespected and I don't like it, and you need to stop. So I saw like the clouds part and the sun come in. And he was like, oh, so I said, moving forward, you are not to touch anything in the house. You are not to bring anything in here. You're not to spray paint, screw, unscrew, thing. Mount, dismount.
Nothing.
Spackle, nothing. Not one thing without running it by me first.
Oh, poor Robert.
Yeah.
Okay.
He tried.
No.
He tried.
She said, no, not you.
No, not poor Robert. No, stay in your lane.
Yeah.
This is not your lane.
No,
and so now that he's finally, released the grip that he's had on this, like, I guess, second career that he's embarked on.
Aspiring interior decorator.
And now I can finally do what I want to do in the house.
You have that freedom now. Look, you see that that sigh of relief. It's a
Yeah,
good
yeah,
thing.
yeah. You've been and I love what I love about you the most too is that how open you are with discussing, like that whole mental health and your home environment and the importance and the connection between the two. And you're very open on your website and on social media, like those times when you're feeling anxious, right? Or you're not feeling great, you're not, your mood is down. And while you're talking through those moments, you also kind of like talk yourself back into like getting into a good space. And I appreciate that so much about you because it shows, vulnerability, and it's just being honest and transparent, right? Like IG in particular, just social media and platforms in general. It's like, oh, you have it. People are always trying to portray this perfect life,
Hmm.
but I mean, that's not real, right? And it's fine if you don't want to post anything, but let's not just always pretend that everything's always gravy. And so I think it's great that you do that and you're able to
Thank
connect
you.
that
And
to
I
your
feel
work.
like, yeah, and I feel that we should because look,
Yeah, it's
this
real
shit is not
life.
easy.
Hmm.
No.
It's not. It's real life. Like I'm over here
Hmm.
navigating a lot. And there's times that I go MIA because I need a moment. Like I can't be on this all the time talking. Like how many times am I gonna talk about curtains? like,
Right.
like there came a time where I went MIA for like 6 months because I had to do some
Just get away. Yeah. Hmm.
heavy crying and get away and do a lot of work on myself and do a lot of work on my marriage and do a lot, just a
Life
lot.
things, right?
Yeah, life things that, some things I share and some
Hmm.
things I don't. But it's like it's real. Like you don't always want to show up.
Hmm.
But the one thing that always keeps me grounded and the one thing that I always go back to is decorating because I love to work with my hands. When I'm going through a lot mentally, I have to like paint or do something because I guess it just
Hmm.
helps me to
Hmm.
release a lot. Um, which is how I got into all of this was like decorating like literally got me out of my depression. Like, being able to wake up and be around color and be around things that bring me joy, like because like waking up to white walls
Yeah,
and
that
just
you need life.
like you're
Yes.
just like, oh God,
Add some color. Yeah.
Color's such a huge thing. Yeah, like
I can't.
yeah, having color and the type of color you have can make such a huge difference in just your mood. I know it does for me. And
It
imagine waking
does.
up into a room that's like a horrific color every morning. Oh my God, I'd
Like I
lose it.
can't, as much as like I know a lot of people love neutral spaces, I cannot in a neutral space. Like
Mm,
I
Hmm.
need
Hmm.
color, I need vibrancy, I need to feel
It
color
does. Yeah.
relaxes me. And there's so many different variations of color. Like you could go bright, you could go muted, you could go, jewel tone. There's just so many different variations of a color that you can go with. Like not all blacks are the
Right.
same, not all whites are the same,
hmm
not all beige. I mean, go to the damn paint store and you see it. Like, but what is it that makes you
Yep.
feel good? And a lot of times people they don't want to do that work when it comes to decorating. They're like, I just want a pretty space. Okay, but how the hell do you think we get to
We need
that?
to know what you
Right,
like.
right.
I don't just go in there and start painting shit and be like,
Right. And everybody
voila.
has like this, like you said, it's just this different feel. You might like bright colors. Another person may like, those moody colors like the dark reds and the dark walls. And others, light, really light pastel kind of colors that they want to put on their walls. It really is just dependent on how you feel. So if you don't know, who else is going to know?
And it's about also
Hmm.
getting to know yourself too.
Yeah.
Like, who are you at in this chapter of your life? Who are you? Because, we all grow, we all change, we all evolve, and our spaces should evolve with us. Because that's how you feel connected to your space, and that's how you feel at home in your space. Is when it reflects who you are. But if you've gone through, let's say, a divorce or you've had children, like think about it. When people have kids, what do? You go buy a crib, you buy
Hmm.
the rocker, you buy all the things, right? You have people who get married, move in together, and they still
Yeah.
haven't
Hmm.
decorated.
It's
It's
true.
like you're quick to decorate when it's like, okay, you have a newborn. Yes, you need a crib and you need. Okay, but you've just transitioned into this new chapter in your life, whether you're getting married, divorced, separated, whatever it is this new chapter that you're going into, and your home should reflect that new chapter. Because then you're not going to feel
Right.
connected to your space. You're not going to feel at home. You're not going to feel alive. You're not going to feel joy. And you don't want to spend time in a space like that.
What do you think people should be thinking when they're trying to achieve certain feelings, right? What should they be thinking about in their space to do when they want to feel a certain way? And they're happiest, right? Like that's obviously, I think to me, it's like that's your ultimate goal, right? You want to feel your best, whatever that is. How should people be thinking about that when it comes to the things that they buy or the things that they're considering to decorate their space?
Think about what are the things that make you
Mm.
happy. Like it's as simple as what makes you happy. And some people can't even answer that
Mm,
question. What makes you happy? What brings you joy? What makes you feel like, for me, let's take me for an example. I love music. I'm a hip hop head. You're going to see
Mm.
that in my
Mm-hmm.
space. You're going to see that, like, I have a graffiti piece that I put up in a frame because I know that I love hip hop. I'm from New York. My husband loves hip hop. It's who we are, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
hmm
It's who we are. Not everybody's going to like it, but I don't give a shit because it's my space,
Yeah.
right? That makes me happy. When I look at that, I feel joy. When I see I have an African print in my house, when I look at that, I've had it
Mm-hmm.
for over 15 years. It brings me joy. Why? Because I love all things Africa. Number two, it's a woman
Yeah.
with
Mm.
3 children.
Yeah.
And at that time, I only had 2 kids when I bought the piece. But it reminds me of a nurturing person. I'm a very nurturing person. And it's rich in color. That piece is going to
Mm-hmm.
stay with me for years
Mm-hmm.
to come, because those are the things, when I look at them, they evoke a certain feeling. It's not just something I picked up at Marshall's. Like, I'm putting a lot of time and energy into selecting the pieces that I bring into my space. And decorating should be something that takes time. It shouldn't be something that we're just going on a home goods trip in one
Buying
day and we're
everything.
like, ta, 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 let's
Racking
go.
up the credit card.
Yeah, like racking up the credit card, like really be intentional and take time in selecting the pieces. Like, look, literally look at the piece and say, how does this make me feel? What are the emotions that come, that conjure up inside of me when I'm looking at,
Mm-hmm.
because it is that deep.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Maybe it's just me because I'm a damn Scorpio rising. I don't know. But I'd be all deep into everything. I'm like, it's a graffiti piece, but is it really a
I
graffiti
need to
piece?
know. Right.
What's
Who
behind
did
the
this?
graffiti piece?
Who's the
And what should we
artist?
frame it with?
What were they about?
Right.
Look at the colors and the
What were they
curves.
thinking when
Yes, that's me. So it's like that. It's as simple but as complicated as that.
right.
If that makes any sense, it's like really be intentional. Really take time into looking at the pieces that you bring into your space, and
Mm-hmm.
do they make you happy?
hmm
Do they reflect who you are? Do they say something about you? When, let's say, Nachi, when Damaris goes into your house, is she gonna step in there and be like, "This is totally
Mm-hmm.
Nachi
Mm-hmm.
everywhere," or is she gonna be like, "You played yourself. Stop looking at Pinterest. You know you're not into no fucking mauve and gold. That's not
Yeah,
you.
yes,
Stop
yes.
it."
And look,
Like,
and that's
Right.
how we
That's
talk to each other too. Because even now, I call her, she's my handyman when she comes to my house.
as soon as I walk in, I'm like with a drill in one hand, and I'm like,
that's
I
me
got
with my
you.
sister.
I'm like, this is
Like,
where
I'd
I
be
want
like,
this
yeah.
picture up here, and I want you to hang this up, bro. How does this look, Damaris? And she's like, okay.
It is a list of things.
And I'm
"Oh, that's me and my sister. She does the same
yes,
thing to
yes.
me." I'm like, "Ugh,
But to your point,
sure.
yeah.
Why not? Because I love you."
Right.
But to your point, yeah, it has to be representative of who you are. And definitely like when I go into Damaris's home, you could tell that's her. It's her style. You definitely could see that.
It's true. It's true. Because my sister even said it to me. She goes, "That's so you. We are so different." I'm like, "We are so different," because it's true.
Right.
Like, you
Yeah,
see
yeah,
me in my
and
home.
it
And that's
should
the way it
be.
should be, right? It should be. It. And this is what you constantly tout on your website and on your platform, is that it's an extension of you and it
Mm-hmm.
should
Mm-hmm.
reflect you, right? And part of that is getting to know yourself, which I think you make a great point of, like, not everybody's ready for that.
They're not, which is why it's such a different way of decorating.
Hmm.
It's like you have to be able to like really, it's a very intimate relationship you have
Mm-hmm.
with the decorator. Like you have to be open to telling me your vision, to telling me how you want to feel, telling me what, like, it always goes towards this of what you're going through at the moment. And how do you want to come out of that? Where do you want to, like, what do you want the other side to look like? And then it's just me, about me just like really listening to you and having that vision that you don't even see for your space because you haven't even like gone there in your mind. You're like,
Right.
nah.
We
And I'm
can do
like,
this.
yes, we can do this. It's like this is what you need right now. Like you need to feel grounded. You need to feel alive with color. You need to feel like in your element. You need to feel like you are
Mm-hmm.
in your safe space because that's what your home should be. Your home should be there to like really be a safe space for you, to really be like that protector for you, to really be where you could let loose and be you.
Right. Have you had people that you had to turn away because you just didn't connect they didn't connect with your approach, and vice versa, you didn't connect with what they were giving you?
Yeah, because when I first started, I wanted to help everybody. I said yes to everybody, and back then, to be honest, I wasn't even on my journey yet. So it was more like just trying to cater to the client. You just want a client, so you just like. And then as I kind of got more seasoned, I'm like, wait a second, this doesn't even make me happy.
Mm-hmm.
And like we're just not going to work well together because I want you to understand. I want you to have the same understanding or the same, I want us to have the same viewpoint about decorating. And if you were just about this like whole cookie cutter thing that you see on Heavenly or Havenly, whatever you call these
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the
chippy choppy
online
design,
decorate. Hmm.
yeah, where it's like you have the same space, you have the same space,
Right.
you have the same space, you have the,
Yes,
it's like
yes.
everybody has the same space.
We're all
And
the
we're just
same.
rotating. Yeah, it's just like everybody's the same. And I'm like, I had to start turning people, you know, away. And I wanted to also work with a certain clientele. I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
work with my people because our
Yep.
people deserve it the most.
Yes.
Like we want to just feel nurtured in our spaces,
We
right?
want to feel
Like,
safe too,
yeah, you
right?
want to
Like,
feel safe,
it
you
needs to
want to
be a
feel at
safe
home.
space for us.
Yeah, because out in the world, you're dealing with so much shit,
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
code
Mm-hmm.
switching,
Yeah.
the whole racial everything. Like, it's just you're looking behind your back. You're like anxious all this because you're like
Mm-hmm.
looking for the exit every time you go. I
Me
don't know. This is
too.
just me. Every
Me
time I
Oh,
go
too.
into
yeah,
the room, I'm like, where are
absolutely.
the exits?
I was at the dentist's office this morning. I was like, where's the exit? Crazy. This is how I think.
Girl, I be in the subway cars and I'm like,
Where are the
okay.
exit doors? Because I need to know how to get out of here the
Yes,
quickest.
exactly.
Yeah, and it's like you're constantly on all
Mm-hmm.
the time, right?
It's true.
You're like on because you're on defensive mode, or you just be trying to be aware of your surroundings all the time. That it's like when I'm home, I just
Yeah.
want to chill. I want to relax. I just want to let loose. I want to put my feet up. I want to light my
Mm-hmm.
candles. I want to watch my TV. I want a place to put my food. Like I just want to be
Mm-hmm.
serviced. I
Right.
want to be
Yeah.
served by my home because I put so much love into it, and that's how it gives you that love back. Is by you putting that love into it first.
Right. It has to be like a symbiotic relationship
It's,
with
yeah, it's
your
reciprocal.
space. Hmm.
It really is.
I do have a question for you. As it's a little, it's not off topic, but it relates to clutter, and I think you talked about this also on your site, which I love. What do you think about Marie Kondo?
To be honest, I never watched an episode.
Oh no. Okay.
No, I've heard of her.
Hmm.
I've seen like little snippets on
Yeah.
Instagram. All I know is that she's very neat. Like give me a rundown. She's very like, I just think of like these like A type people.
Very
I don't know. I
organized
can't.
and
I'm like, Jesus
orderly. Yes.
Christ.
Yeah. Yes. She's all about just removing the clutter, and I think she comes from a Buddhist background, which makes a lot of sense about, you know, she teaches the people on her show about showing gratitude for the things that you have, and even as you get rid of it, thanking it and moving on, right? And clearing out your space. And I think for me, it's just always about, I always feel like I work better when my office is clean or when the house is clean. I
Mm-hmm.
just feel good, right? And so she changed my drawer situation because I'm like, oh, I could open it now. Oh, but I folded everything in a
Look,
really cute way. But I'm like, it's been like 3 years and I'm still folding it that way. So I'm like, oh,
to
wow.
the point that she comes to my house and she's like, "Why don't you do Marie Kondo draw over here?" I'm like, "Okay,
Your drawer situation is a mess, not
okay."
G. Do something.
No, I would say that I align with her when it talks about when she's talking about thanking
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
thanking it
Mm-hmm.
for serving you,
Hmm.
and then a lot, you have to let go in order
Mm-hmm.
to let the new in, right?
Yes.
And the way that I think about clutter, I think about it in like a very deep way. I'm just like, clutter to me is the equivalent of like
Mm.
rejection. You're literally telling the universe that you don't want nothing new, that you're good with what you have, that you're comfortable as is, and you're telling them no, go on to the next because I'm good.
Right.
Like that's my definition of clutter, right? And when I think about it that way, I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
I could let go
yeah.
of these jeans. I could let go of this rug. I could let go of it all. Like just take it. Just take it because
We're like
Oh
part
my
hoarders because
gosh.
of my father. This is Poppy's fault. Oh,
my mom was very much like she got to a point where she was just thrifting all the time. I'm like, Mom,
It's
like
terrible. I know.
stop.
my
Yeah.
husband's a minimalist, and he's like, "What is this? Get rid of it." When was the last time you used
What
it?
is
I was
this?
like, "But I don't want to get rid of it." And then it's like the time that I need it, I'm like, "Damn, I wish I had that."
That happens to me too.
That's only happened like once
That
or
happens like
twice.
even now I'm like, shit, I need a mirror for the entryway. Did I throw that mirror out or is it still in the attic? Shit.
Right, right.
Because I was in my,
Yes.
am I really gonna use this? I don't feel
Right.
like spray painting it. I'll just buy a new one. But that's how I look at clutter. Like clutter is like we gotta start letting go of shit.
Yeah,
Like we
Mm-hmm.
are not who we used to be. A lot of us have grown, a lot of us have matured, a lot of us have transitioned to new chapters, and it's like we're holding on to shit from the 90s, which
yeah.
is kind of good when it's fashion, but when
But
it's not
It's kind
fashion,
of
it's
like,
right,
like,
oh, okay.
do you still
I'm
need
just,
that Nintendo?
yeah, like you gotta just let go of it. Like, yeah, it served its purpose. You have a memory to hold on to, but it's not serving a purpose
Mm-hmm.
anymore.
Right.
So just thank it and let it go. And because when stuff is taking up space in your home, that's a lot of energy. You're not allowing like abundance to flow through your home. You're not allowing it to actually enter into your home because you're blocking
Yeah.
it by all this junk you don't even use, and you could literally give it to someone else who would love it and appreciate it and who could make use of it.
No, that's a
So
great
that's
point.
that's how I look at clutter, and it makes it easier for me to let go of things when I think about it like
It's
that.
freeing when, yeah, it's
I like
freeing
that.
when you, because even when I go through my, season of let me clear up my closet or, clear up the room, one of the kids' room. Because the other day I was just looking at my son's room. I was like, Gabriel, we got to do something because I know 3/4 of this stuff you don't even use. And we need to
Right.
get rid
I
of it
know.
because his room especially I want to change and make it more comfortable for him because he stays in my room and I need him to stay in his room. Stay in your room.
Go to your room.
And he always tells me, but
Yeah.
your room is comfy. So I need to make his room comfy.
Oh,
Your room is nice and
yeah,
cozy.
you need to
Keep
Yeah,
make
the
so
his
room
room
I
cozy.
need to
comfy. You
figure it out. But
do.
like I said the other day, it's because he has a lot of stuff in there that he doesn't even use. He doesn't. I'm not gonna ask him if he wants it because I know he's gonna say, "Yeah, I still want it." No, we're gonna like,
You gotta do like what Robert does in the house. He
yes,
just waits till they're not home and just
that's
starts throwing shit out.
Right.
And then the kids are
I
like,
don't
"What
know.
happened to it?" I'm like, "I didn't touch your stuff. Go ask your father." And he's like, I don't know. And I'm just like, you are such a liar. You know, you
It's
threw
in the
all this shit
dumpster.
out. Like,
He's like, you don't want to know where it is. But
she like that. But then, I mean, to his defense, he's like, I told you to pick it up 10 times and you didn't listen. So obviously you
You
don't
really
use it
don't
and you
care.
don't care.
Right,
So it's
right.
going in the garbage.
he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
So that's just the way it is. But it's also like thinking about also how our
Mm,
kids are watching us, even when
mm-hmm.
it comes to our spaces, right? Like showing them through the love that we pour into our space, how they should be pouring love
Yeah.
into their
Mm-hmm.
room, right? And so that when then they get older, they're not like, damn, my mom was a hoarder. Damn, my mom had a lot of shit.
Yes,
Damn,
and
like
I'm
da, da,
You're
da,
trying
da.
not
right.
to
You know,
be
like
that.
Right.
Yes.
that's not their story.
No, no, no.
They're like,
That's
no,
great.
my mom had my
Mm-hmm.
room was
Mm-hmm.
hooked up. It was nice, and it the colors, and and then when they're older, that's what they
Right.
create
Yep.
in their space. It's like a teaching moment, I think.
So, Julie, to close out some of kind of like your thoughts, what are like three things that you feel every person should consider as they approach decorating their home and their space?
When you gave me this question, I thought about it for a second, then I got
Mm-hmm.
distracted, and then I thought about it, and I think the one thing is really understanding that decorating your space is really getting to know who you are. It's really putting the energy into that first and then going ahead and doing the fun stuff of,
Mhm.
oh, let me pick out colors and oh, let me pick out patterns and match and do all that. I think that one definitely for sure. Number two is always how you want to feel in your space. Like, think about how it is that you want to feel when you walk into your space. What is the vision that you have for your space? But tying that vision into who you are, not just tying the vision into what you see out there. Because again, your space should be you. It should be you always. Like, no matter what anybody tells you, because at the end of the day, you're the one who's spending time there, you're the one who's living there, you're the one who's sleeping there. And if you don't love your space, then what's the point? You just spend all this money to please other people. And that's not cute. And then the third one, which is, I wouldn't even add this to the list, but I'm going to say it anyway because I feel like people need to hear it a lot, is you need to freaking measure. Like, you need to measure. I'm gonna start
Julie.
giving out tape measuring tapes,
Wow.
measuring tapes,
Oh
tape
my
measures,
goodness.
whatever you
So
call them.
true. It is so
Like, you get one. Like, do the Oprah, you get a measure. You get. I mean, it shouldn't even be an issue anymore because you have it on your phone. Isn't there an
There,
app where you
yeah,
just like,
yes,
and it
yes, there
measures
is.
for you? Like, come
I'm
on.
guilty. Yeah,
Like, I
I'm
don't want to
guilty
hear
of
it no
that.
more.
Yeah, I'm guilty,
You're
Julie.
guilty.
Yeah.
Duh.
That's why when I go to her house, she's like, "Oh, do this." I walk around like a little toolbox, my little toolbox around her house. I have the tape
I'm
measure. I have the
guilty.
stud
Yeah.
finder. The drill. No, she's
Yes, I have the stud finder
yeah,
too because I'm like, I don't want
No,
to
I'm
keep putting holes
guilty.
in the wall.
I'm
yep,
like this.
No, you're like my sister. My
Yeah,
sister's like,
yeah.
it
That's
looks like it's gonna fit. And I'm
that
like, what
is
do you
me.
mean
That
it
is
looks like
me.
it's gonna
I'm like, I think
fit?
that works.
Like, bitch, the shit ain't gonna fit. Like, I need you to be sure.
Visually,
She's
it
like,
looks like it
you'll
fits.
figure it out. And I'm like, what the hell?
yeah. No, that's not a thing. But yes, Julie, I feel your pain.
No,
Yes,
it's like, what do you mean you're not measuring? Like, what are we doing? It's 2023. Like,
she's like, they got apps for that.
they have apps. Like, there's no excuse. It's on the Android and it's on every iPhone.
I'm
You're
sorry.
I
absolutely
mean, I
It
would
doesn't
think it's
work
on
for
an
me.
Android, but I don't know. It has to be on a. No, it should.
yes. Naturally, you have some reflecting to do. Um,
You have some reflecting to do. And then, oh, so the real third one is staying true to yourself.
Hmm.
And that's when I tell people, put your blinders on. Stop worrying about what other people are doing in their spaces. Stop following all these designers and what they do in their space.
no.
Because I'm also seeing that a lot of spaces
Mm,
are looking the same.
Hmm.
And I get that we want to support certain people, which is a beautiful thing. Don't get me wrong. But when it starts like everybody's, it's just like, ugh, like
right,
again, we're not
right.
all the same.
No, no. Well,
It
unique
comes looking like
individuals.
cookie
Yeah.
cutters.
That's
So it's like I wanna, yeah, I wanna see you in your space. And when I see your, let's say your Instagram, and I follow you and I see you and I watch your stories, I'm like, oh, I get a sense of who this person are. And then I see
This
their
doesn't
space,
look
I'm
like
like,
you.
this is not matching. Like, what is happening here?
What's going on? Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
what are we doing?
That seems so basic, but that's probably the most important of the three.
Yeah, I
But
did
it's
this
so basic.
one. Yeah, I did a game on my stories a few months back when I had to take my mom to the hospital. So I'm like, let me stay entertained and go on Instagram.
Right.
Let me do a test here and be like, so I started putting up random rooms. I found pictures online and I was like, oh, let me put them up and let me ask people, describe the person that
Oh,
lives in
that's a
this
cool
space.
game.
And people were like, it was kind of like ghosty. And then I was like, okay, I'll go first. So I was like, well, this person seems like, I was like, you could tell that they kind of got lost in the process because they didn't even finish hanging up
Mm,
the artwork. You could tell that they're very indecisive. They can't tell if they like glam or they're into moodiness or they're into this or they're into that. This person seems very grounded because you see a lot of wood in their
Mm.
space. You see a touch of sophistication because you see some metals in there, and you see that this person has some sexiness to them. So you can really get to know a person through their space. It's a
mm-hmm.
very intimate process. So it's like, put your blinders on, get to know yourself, measure, then take action. Like, do the
You're not
Yeah,
real
yeah, yeah,
work.
saying
yeah, yeah,
Shay. That
yeah.
was she looked right at me.
Measure, okay.
Measure.
I love that. The true story. Come on.
It's a true story. I'm not lying. I
Facts
mean, it's gonna save you a lot of
I
time.
know. I know.
and
It is.
returns.
And returns. So much returns. Yeah.
Sometimes I just deal with it.
Yeah, that's obvious.
That's how you
Or,
end up
or I
with
should
shit you
say,
don't need
yeah,
because you're like, I don't got time to return this
right.
and I'm just gonna leave
Yes,
it there because it
yes.
doesn't look that bad.
Okay, I'm gonna work on it,
Basically.
ladies. I'm gonna work on it.
Thank you.
And Julie, one final super important question. Since you are also of the same generation that we are, I need to know of the four Golden Girls, who would you describe yourself to be closest to?
See, it depends on what stage in my life we're talking about.
Okay, this stage, your current stage, yes.
My
Girl,
current stage,
we're not talking about your bland
Not the early
era.
90s. Yeah,
if
not
we're
the
talking
early
about the
90s.
90s, then it might be
The early
Blanche.
90s.
Yeah, we're talking about now.
um, okay, now, okay, I'm thinking it's Blanche, Dorothy. There was the one with
Rose and
the
Sophie and
mom.
uh-huh.
Who am I now? I'm I don't know.
Oh, look at this.
I'm
Stop.
a little okay. I would say, see, it's different because with my kids, I'm like, really? That's what we're doing?
You're like, I'm
Really?
Dorothy with my kids.
You didn't think about asking that question before you came to me. You didn't think about, like, you didn't say it out
Serious.
loud. You didn't think it in your mind.
Ooh,
There was none of that before you came to the room and disturbed me and asked
Yeah,
me the
you
question that
sound
you
like
know
me.
the answer to.
That
That's
sounds like
what's
sounds
her
like
name.
Dorcas, not you.
Dorothy.
The tall one.
Yes.
Yeah, Dorothy.
That was Dorothy.
Yeah, yeah.
That's that. And then I have my Betty
Yeah,
White
that's
moments,
me. I
you
was
know, where
saying
I'm just like
I'm
la la
Rose.
la 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 la.
I'm Rose. Because I could be oblivious to things
Yes,
like,
not you.
And,
what? Oh, okay.
and sometimes it's intentional and
I
sometimes it's
love it
not.
all. I'm in a
And
bubble.
then, and then I could be the mom too sometimes.
Right.
And then I still have some Blanche in me, just with Robert. So
Right.
I guess I'm
A
kind of all
mix of
four.
all four.
And that's
That's
okay.
good.
He'd be like, "Get your Scorpio ass out of here," and I'd be like, "What?"
Yeah, I'm definitely more Dorothy. Stank and a combination of pragmatic and logical. That's what I throw at Nachi. Sometimes I'm like, did you think that through? Okay, Rose. It's all good. But I'm glad you played that game with me.
I
Before we
love that game.
I know. I'm like, Let me ask you the first guest that we asked. I'm like, why not? Let me see. Who does she
I
think
used to love that
who
show.
resonates with? I know. But Julie, yet again, if you could just share with the folks, with our listeners about like where they could find you and engage with you, you know, to explore your wonderful work.
Where you can find me on my website, redoyourroomonline.com. And you'll find all my services there. My one-on-one work. It may bring back the group program, not sure yet, but for now, for sure, the one-on-one work you'll find on there, and you'll find all things about me on there too, my blog and all the good stuff. And then on Instagram, I'm Julie A Jamison.
Awesome.
So I went through this whole, transition
There
and
we
we switched
go.
it, but yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you, Julie, for joining us on this episode. As expected, you shared great information with our listeners. So I'd like to close out with a reminder of the importance of creating an environment that is your personal sanctuary, a reflection of your best self, your highest self. There's
Yes.
a lot of noise in the world, and to me, as I always say, it's simply a distraction. Keep your eyes on the prize, that prize being yourself. Thank you for listening. Please follow us on your favorite podcast platform and sign up for our emails on our website at imnotyelling.co to get the latest. Thank